In today's show, everyone asked me all the questions. Yep, for today's show, I went live on YouTube. And so for all the subscribers and everyone who hopped into the video, they asked hundreds, if not thousands of questions. I didn't answer hundreds or thousands, but I answered a handful, probably 20 or so. And so this video is just a replay of that recording. I cleaned it up a little bit. If you look down below in the timestamps, there's also all the questions I answered and timestamps, so you can jump to the ones you want. So it's a new format. I thought I'd try something new. What do you think? But before we do it, first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with PowerApps 911. Those guys. And today's PowerApps Ask Me Anything, right? We're going to cover some PowerApps, some Dataverse, some SharePoint, some Flow, some API stuff, a lot of little things we're going to kind of get hit in here. And before we do that, though, before I kick you the recording, a couple quick notes. One is I saw the camera jumps around a little bit, so my new camera, apparently the autofocus makes it jump. It's really weird, so I turned that off going forward, but there is some jumping in there. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that there will be lots of links to the videos as they kind of go through. So I got the videos, I try to put that in there. And then down in the description, if you're not looking at there, that is a breakdown of all the questions that were asked and the timestamps of where they're at, so you can jump around if you prefer. But hopefully you just want to watch the whole thing. All right. Whatever that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Let's kick you to the recording. All right, so let's just jump in here and see what happens, right? So the idea here, this is something that we do a lot as part of my different subscriptions over at training.powerapps911.com, right? We have this thing called office hours. So all the subscribers get to join in once a month. We have 2 one-hour sessions where I answer their questions via Teams. And so we actually talk and do and have all that fun. And so I can't do that level here with you guys, but what I thought I would do is I've got a bunch of you hiding over here in the YouTube chat, is we'd let you post questions over there, and I would just kind of go through, answer some of these, or if they don't ask any good questions or any easy questions, I like easy questions, then I'll talk about some of the apps that I'm kind of working towards, but just try to kind of frame that. And so maybe the first thing I would do is, the questions are coming so fast, I'm going to have to find a better way to deal with that. But so the first thing I want to show you guys is kind of this app I was working on. I'll get a little feedback from you all before I jump into the questions directly. And so here you can see that I was working on, and I've almost got it working, is a sign out app. So this is built on top of SharePoint, but what I wanted to do was have the ability to check in and check out inventory of items, right? So like if you wanted to borrow Chewy, right? And Chewy looks very stately down here. I really like this. So if we click on this, I want to borrow a Chewy. We're all going to highlight it. Hey, when do you want to return Chewy? And so I defaulted it to 7 days out in the future. And defaulted it in 7 days in the future. How many you want to borrow? And you'll notice the dynamic quantity here, right? So there's only one Chewy available, so it only offers one. But like the ghost toy, since there's 4, we've got 4. And so I'm using the sequence function there in my drop downs to kind of drive that. I also have got, I went ahead and put in the pin signature so I can be able to like, hey, I want to sign this thing. And so then, okay, we'll borrow 2 ghosts. So borrow 2 ghosts, yay, little process. And so we're not only reducing the quantity of ghosts available, yay, but we've got another list where we're going to be like, hey, we borrowed, and so down here at the bottom, I borrowed 2 ghost toys. I captured the signature, and we're actually going to grab the base 64 to do that. And so this is kind of the app I was playing with, because I think one of the things that a lot of you have asked about is a desktop checkout app, like, desk reservation app, kind of as we come back to work. And so I thought this was another step in that direction, right? We've talked about printing, we've talked about like the visual controls. So I thought this was another step in that direction as we do it. So, and I'm going to say that thankfully Daniel LeMay has jumped in chat and has been grabbing me some of these questions, because you guys are blowing me up, which is awesome. But I realize now that I will not be able to keep up on that on my own. So, the first question Daniel pulled out, is there a workaround for delegation and searching text not using StartsWith? So the short answer is no. But what we know is that like if we come over here, I should have already had it. We'll just use this app. So a new app in here, a new screen. And so when you're in a screen here, right, and we'll throw a gallery control. Where's my galleries? We're over here, gallery vertical. And then we'll just add another SharePoint data source. So search for SharePoint again. And then we'll pull in our good friend employees because I don't want to pull anything else different. But delegation is one of the hardest things that we do, right? Daniel and I just got off interviewing someone new who, we're pretty excited that we interviewed. But, delegation is one of those questions we always kind of harp on, like, hey, how well do you know what's going on with this? And so one of the things that you probably know is if you use the search function against a SharePoint list, so search employees where, how about the CEO is in the column, is in the title column. Title. Don't worry, PowerApps. I'll do this for you. Oh, I didn't close my parentheses. Okay. I'll take the blame for that. So then we have the title column here. So this is not delegable, right? It will find the answer. It found that Nicola is the one that does that. So it is doing a full text search of that column, but because you get the blue line, it is not delegable. So unfortunately, with SharePoint as your data source, there is no way to get around this. The search function will never delegate. So you'll always be limited to the number of results that come back. The challenge though is that if you use other data sources, so I'm thinking about like the Dataverse or SQL, search is delegable in those cases. So you have some options there. But what you can do that is delegable here, which I don't think is what the question asker wanted, but this is kind of what we have, is you can say, I want to filter employees. And then what do I want to do? I want to filter where, use the StartsWith function. And so starts with CEO. And then, oh, I did it again. And then, wait, I did that backwards. So this is the column, so it would be the title column. So our title starts with CE. And so then that should return Nicola's record. That is delegable. So interestingly enough, SharePoint supports StartsWith as delegable. So as long as you don't mind searching from the first character, kind of the starting portion, that is possible. But those are really your two options with SharePoint and doing full text search, unfortunately. So lots of fun there. Let's see, another question, how to automate list permissions. For every new user, I have to grant permissions individually for the app and 6 data files. Ugh! Yes. So there's a couple different ways that you can think about that. One of them is, remember with your PowerApps that when you are sharing the app, so if we go to share one of my apps here, and we wait patiently apparently, right? So the downside, I can't edit out all this stuff for you guys. But as this loads, maybe, if it ever loads. All right, let's cancel, try again. Please try again. Go, 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 go. All right, well, this is one, this works well. When you go to share an app, you can share it with security groups also. So we normally think of sharing it with people. So you can share it with Azure Active Directory security groups. So if you had those set up ahead of time, so maybe you just have a Azure Active Directory group set up for all your apps and you share with that group, then when you onboard a new person, you could just put them in the group and they would automatically get access. So that would work. And then depending on where your data is, you could probably also tie your data. So like if it was a SharePoint data source, you could tie your SharePoint data into using those Azure Active Directory security groups also. And that would give you the ability to make it a little easier. So that's probably where I would direct you. Technically, we could probably write a flow or a Power Automate that went and set a bunch of permissions. I've never done that, but that would be possible. And I'm also really just annoyed that I can't share an app right now. Apparently, I broke the internet by streaming. So if you guys are having a bad Monday, it's now officially my fault because I can't even share a Power App. Let's see, another question from Daniel. All right, so struggling with DataURIBinary for uploading pics via PowerApps. Yeah, so let's go over to Flow real quick. So we'll open Flow. And one of the things that I'd use is, I have a flow over here, and I think I call it Easy Upload. I believe it is, right here. So there's Easy Upload. So this is my flow that uses that technique that we invented a while back around uploading files straight to SharePoint, right? And so one of the most important things to understand is that SharePoint stores files in the format of binary, right? So, which we don't even have to understand what that means, because I actually don't really completely get what that is, but it stores a file, ones and zeros, right? That's what binary is. But PowerApps and most of the rest of the world works in images that are in the base64 format. And so what happens is when we're over in PowerApps, we use the JSON function to grab the image, and we convert it to base64, or we get it, not convert it, but we get its base64 representation, right? That's all the A's and B's and 1s and 2s and 3s that make up the file. And when we send it over to PowerApps, what you have to do is you've got to use this expression right here, base64 to binary. And so then where people get really confused is like, well, but what is trigger body create file content? Don't overthink that, right? Let's just throw a compose step here so we can kind of show this real quick. So when you do the function, so you're going to go over here, you're going to go to the flow expression editor. You're going to be annoyed because you're always annoyed when you use this thing. When you go base64 here, and you go base64 to binary, so then it's like, all right, what do you want me to convert? So all you have to do is get your dynamic content into this location. So in this step, this little craziness, trigger body, create file, file content, that is just the ask in PowerApps that existed. So what you'd want to do here is you'd say, hey, I need to ask in PowerApps again, right? So we're going to ask in PowerApps again. It's going to create a new, this is going to break my flow. This is probably a bad idea, but sorry, I'm breaking this for you. So now you can see there's an ask in PowerApps called compose inputs. So that's where I want the user to pass me the base64. So you're going to say expression, and you're going to then go back over here, base64 to binary. You will do this. And then if you just kind of click out of there, that'll go away. And now put your cursor back between the two parentheses, go to dynamic content, and then put compose inputs. And you can see that it wrote that whole trigger body, compose inputs, bloody thing for you. It'll do all the hard work. So this is something I didn't show in that original video because I didn't really realize how that would work. But now that works that way. And that's it. That will convert the file, and now you use that as the file content, and SharePoint will create the file. So that is a great question. Request with different day and time. Can you share us how you send automatic notifications based on a request with different day and time? I don't exactly follow that question, but what I think that you're asking is, I'm going to go with, let's see, do not save that because I broke that. Is what I'm imagining you're asking is you have some type of scheduled flow, right? You want the ability to schedule a flow and have it on a periodic set go and do something, right? So we did this in one of our previous videos. I'm hoping that right here I'm going to see it. So here's an example of one, right? So we edit this flow. So what I do is I use a reoccurrence trigger. So I say, hey, every morning at 8 a.m., right? Or every hour, every 30 minutes, or once a month, or the end of the month, whatever it is, Flow, wake up. Yay, Flow's awake. Once Flow's awake, then I go to my data source. So like in the case of our approvals video, we went to our SharePoint list and we said, hey, SharePoint list, give me all the items that are past due, right? All the approvals that haven't been done. Daniel did not approve my expense report, and man, I want my $4. I need Daniel to approve that. So what do? We say, get me all those. So we would write a SharePoint get items or whatever your data source is, right? It doesn't have to be SharePoint. I'm teaching a SharePoint class like live in a couple weeks, next week, I don't know, real soon. And so my brain's in very much a SharePoint mode, right? But we'd be like, hey, filter query, right? Write an OData query. It says, give me all the items where the status is not approved and the approval date is passed. And so then when you've got all of those, now you can loop through those. You can say for every one of those items, so I can apply to each, then we would say, all right, send an email to the person with a notification. So then that would be how you would do it, right? You would have to do that type of thought process there. But that's what I think you're asking with that question. So if that's what you're asked, then hopefully I answered it. But if not, well, then I will attempt to try again. I see one real quick on the bottom of the chat that was easy for me. It seems that the not equal sign, right? So over here on the SharePoint side, it said filter. So if we want to filter everything but Nicole, right? We could say we want to filter where title not equal to CEO. And so that is not delegable. I mean, right, we're getting results because delegation, my list is small, but that is not a delegable query. Unfortunately, there is no way to do not equals in a delegable manner. So what I've had to do before, which was not beautiful, but I basically had to do the opposite. I had to say filter title equals, let's see. So we did this, but we said title equals truck driver, or, title equals, I think it's nap takers, what Chewy's title is. And so I went through and wrote all of the opposites. Oh, good guess. So that is not ideal, especially in large data sets, but that was one way that I worked around that problem one time. So hopefully that helps, Jeff. Was there a way to embed MS Forms on PowerApps? So yes, right in here, if you go to input down at the very bottom, you can embed a Forms Pro. And so if you drop this in here, this will then, let's kind of squeeze you over here. So then this is going to say, all right, choose which one of my forms it is. And so then I can be like, oh yeah, I want my, whatever this one was. Now notice it warns you it is a premium, but yeah, now my form is embedded inside of here. I have never actually used this for a customer solution. Typically what we do is we have Microsoft Forms that are, how would I explain this? We use Microsoft Forms as like a public way to get information, and then we route it through Flow, put it into our data source, and then interact with the data inside of PowerApps. Like one of our customers, they were doing onboarding for their new customers, and they needed to collect all this information and get them into the process, and then their whole experience once they were a customer was going to be managed inside of PowerApps, but we had to get them there. So what we did was we put a form out there that they could fill out. So they send them a link to the form, they put in their name, their company, all the info that we needed from them. When that form got filled out, it then got loaded by Flow. The Flow asked for an approval, like, hey, did you expect Greg to fill out this form? Oh yeah, I was waiting on Greg to fill it out. Approved. And once it was approved, then it said, okay, now I'm going to create Greg an Active Directory account. I'm going to give Greg access to my Power App. I'm going to send Greg all these forms, all this additional data. Like, we went and did the whole business process. But because the user started as not an account that had an Azure AD with us, we used a form as our public side of that. And that gave us a lot of capabilities to, do that, get that information. Because it used to be like, all right, here's a bunch of paper, fill them out and fax this to us. Like, it's like 1997 or something. And I don't know, nobody wants faxes. So we were able to let the customer into the data, we process it through the system. So that's where we use forms a lot. How can I search or convert a multi-choice field to a string in order to search it? Oh, solid question. I like it. All right. So this is something I do a lot of, but I don't think I've ever actually shown in a video. So if we jump over here, I'm going to add a different data source. And so right here, we're going to add another SharePoint. But the reason for this is one of the things that I teach my students, and I'll remind all of you, I've talked about it before, but I have a SharePoint list, and mine is called Law because it was a law firm that I built this for in the original version, that has basically one of every SharePoint column known to man, right? And it's got a bunch of fake data in it. So that way, when people ask me weird questions like that, not weird questions, but questions that like I wasn't ready for, I've got a SharePoint list sitting there ready to go on demand. And so like if we go here, and now we'll just throw another gallery on, we're going to see that my little law list got a bunch of different data. And one of the columns, we'll just replace this one, is called Muti Choice or Muti Select, right? I misspelled it and I've never went back and fixed it. And it used to mess me up all the time. I've done this demo so many times that I've gotten used to it. But so Muti Select, if we jump over to SharePoint, I guess I should show you on the SharePoint side, list settings. So if we jump over here and we say, hey, oh, we want the law list, not this list. Site contents. Oh, Daniel had to leave us for a customer call. Bye, Daniel. There's law. And then now we'll go to list settings. Muti Select is right here. So it's a choice column, but not only is it a choice column, but it does checkboxes, which allows multiple selection, which is what the original person asked about that causes so much pain and suffering. And so like if we look back now on our Power App, now that we've seen this thing, you can see that it's like, hey, I'm a table. I can't show you that data because you can't show, a table in a text field. But what you can do is you can actually use the Concat function. And so the Concat function will take a table and it will then say, all right, I'm a table. What do you want me to do with you? Well, I want you to take the, the result? Let me select, I think it's the value column. I want you to write the value column. And so look at that. So Jeff is set up for the EU and the AU. And what I could do is then say, hey, I want to have a text separator of a semicolon. And so then now that is showing you that multi-text column as a string. Yay! So then now that it is a string, what we could do is we say, hey, I want ability to search that. So what we'll do is we'll say concat that, and we can just say, hey, I want to know is AU, right? Good old Australia. Is Australia in that? And so then now you can see that, yes, Jeff has Australia in his data set. Chewy does not. Jennifer does not. Greg does. So that is kind of how I think about that particular problem, right? So I'm using concat to turn a table of data into a string. And then once I've got that string, I'm using the in operator to go through and do that. So that would be one way to think about, doing something like that. And this is a good skill set to have, right? Is knowing to use concat. Anytime you want to take table to text, you go to concat. And what if you want to go the other way? What if you have, EU, AU, US, right? And you want to turn that string into a table. So how do we do that? You would actually use the split operator, right? So I think if we do this, and then we say, I want to split on that. Oh, I didn't close it. So then this would create a single column table. All right, so we'll just put that in a drop down, or we'll put it in its own gallery. Easy enough. So you can see it. So then we'll just say, hey, you, put that right here. And so then now you get EU, AU, and US. So being able to move back and forth between a string and a table, right? It's really just about split and concat most of the times. So good, solid question there. All right, let's do another one here. I'm going to run out of questions since Daniel had to leave me. In Dataverse for Teams, is there a way to use lookup fields to make one-to-one records? Example, an employee list linked to table 2 of the employee certifications and table 3 for performance reuse. Yes. So this is something, so this is on the Dataverse side. Trying to think of where I've got a good example set of this data. So let's go over there. Let's go here. Let's go to data. Let's go to tables. So the key thing to understand when you're building relationships, you want to build a relationship in Dataverse, but you're doing it from the PowerApps side, is it's really about understanding the records. So like if we look, I think one of these Chewy ones, let's try the Chewy trackers. Chewy tracker have a lookup column. All right, so I don't really want one of those. Okay, so Chewy tracker has a lookup to the toy column, right? And so we'll go to relationships here. And so related entity is Chewy's toys. Okay, so how do we create something in Chewy tracker that relates to Chewy's toys? It's a little trickier than you want, but it's not bad once you kind of understand mechanically how it works. So let's make ourselves another new screen. And so over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set ourselves up a ability to patch. And actually, I guess before we do that, let's pull in the data source. So search for toy. Add data, let's search for toy. All right, so Chewy's toys. There we go. So now if we throw a gallery in here, I really hate when my screen gets resized. The galleries are all the way over there. So there's Chewy's toys. All right, so I got a bunch of Chewy's toys here. So the key is that when you go to create the record in our main parent, Chewy Tracker, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to tie the records together. And so you need the whole record. So, and we're going to do it with a patch. I think that's the hardest one to do. So we're going to say, hey, I want to, I got to add Chewy Tracker first. Tracker. Oh, add data. I don't know if this new interface is easier to use or not, but it works. So there we go. Okay. So what we want to do, we want to patch Chewy Trackers. What record? We're just going to create a new record. And so then let's see, what are the fields that are required? Because I don't know this data set off the top of my head, and I'm sure you do not. No. Do this. Show me only the custom columns. Thank you. All right. Required is dog's activity. Okay. So we'll go over here. Oh, you. So I click on you. Go away. Leave. Chewy Tracker. So we're going to patch dog's activity, and let's see, video demo. And so then now we want to patch that other column, right? Which is the the toy, right? That's our lookup column. So when you go to patch the toy, what you're going to have to do is you have to provide the whole record of the other one you want to match. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to take advantage of the gallery over here, because that would return the record, right? So I can just say I want gallery 6 dot selected. That is the record of the toy that was chosen. So that patch statement right there, whatever record we have selected, so we'll just select the penguin, and it'll set it as demo. So we'll select penguin, we'll press the button, and then now that that's done, if we go back over here and say show me the data, and then just say custom columns, video demo is patch the penguin. Yay! I feel like I did like a cheerleader cheer. Yay! Anyway, so that is a lot of, that's the hard part, right? Is you have to patch record for record. So I've actually been thinking about a video where I'm going to show in Power Automate how to like import a bunch of Excel data, like 2 Excel files that are related. I'm going to import those and then show you how to map that, right? Because my last live class, one of the students asked that question. I just thought it was a great question. It made me think for a minute. But as soon as I got my head wrapped around, it's really the record, right? It's just about patching in that whole record. And it's not like storing the whole thing, but that's just how you tell Dataverse to make that relationship again. It worked out pretty well. All right. So many people. All right, let me look through here. Wow, I love seeing all you guys answering each other's questions. That is so fun as well. Somebody asked, is there a method to estimate Dataverse database sizes if you're currently using SharePoint as SQL? Not that I know of. Is it possible to create a team in Teams with a private channel through Power Automate? Luke, or I think it's Luke. So to do that, I think if you go, I don't think there's an item for that, right? Is that what you're probably telling me, is there's not a simple, so new instant cloud flow, manually trigger. I tell you guys, this is how I do this all the time. We go to Teams. Yeah, I don't, so there's create a team. Is there a create a channel? And so if you create a channel, but if you create this, it's a public channel, right? That's your problem. So I guess if you want to create a private channel, my guess is we'd have to do that via an API, right? So I have to go find how to do it in the Graph API. I haven't tried, so I'm not really super sure, but that's the way that I think about it. So somebody asked about how to use a SharePoint list with more than 2,000 rows. Remember, I have SharePoint lists with 30,000, 100,000 rows. You know, they're slow. It's not ideal, but there is no hard limit of only using SharePoint item with 2,000 rows. The challenge becomes is that you have to use you have to kind of think about delegation, right? And so if you're not super familiar with delegation, oh no, let's do this. What I would really prefer, or what you need to do, right, is I spent a whole bunch of time on this. So I have a video, PowerApps delegation, a 500 item limit. So I talk about a lot of the different confusing misnomers out there around it. So this video kind of really tries to break all that down for you. So go watch that one if you still have questions and you think, you know, you're only kind of stuck at 2,000 items. So is there a way to refresh a database when an external API post method is called? I don't know. And I don't know the answer to that one. Oh, can a Power App be used to create a new SharePoint list and populate it with Excel content? Yes, so Mega Big Ragu, that is actually something I'm going to, so it was covered in my Power Apps Advanced class. We took an Excel file, we created a SharePoint list, we created all the columns in the SharePoint list and then populated all the data. What you have to use is, you have to use the REST API, right? So in SharePoint, there is a send an HTTP request to SharePoint. So in that class, I broke down how to do all of that. It was very overwhelming. There's a lot. I'm probably going to cover it in the live SharePoint class that is coming up because I think it's important to kind of understand. But it's one of those ones I struggle with putting on YouTube because there's so many moving parts. It's a pretty tough one. So, all right, guys. It has been a half an hour. I don't want this video to be too long. If you liked this format, if you like the idea of this, please leave me comments, leave me suggestions on how to do this better in the future. Clearly, I need more people to help capture all the questions. You guys, I appreciate the love, right? But you blew my mind with how many questions you asked all at once, which is really, really fun. There's also about a 10-second delay, so it's a little tougher for me to like interact with people live, like one-to-one. So I'm gonna have to think about how to do better with that next time as well. But yeah, if you like this format, tell me about it. Also, remember, I've got a bunch of stuff coming up, a bunch of live training classes, and we have the on-demand over at training.poweraapps911. So if you're interested in with that, you know, check it out. Or just go sign up for the curated Power Apps library, right? The $20 a month subscription. We do these live sessions twice, or 2 one-hour sessions every month for all the current subscribers. And what's really cool about those is people, you know, it's not 1,000 people from the internet blowing me up in a YouTube chat. Like, we get through all the questions, right? Like, we don't have this scatter shot like we had here. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you again for joining. I guess with that, I'm just going to say thanks and have a great day. Before you go, be sure to click on the subscribe button over here so that way you'll be notified when new videos come out. If you need any help or you want to work together, whether your problem is big or small, check us out at PowerApps911. We do it all. I rhymed. Or if you're looking for more formal training offerings, we have those linked up here somewhere. So check them out. Thanks and have a great day.